Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. It is Wednesday, October 9th. So I'll just put it here, 2024. And we're going to go over the bones of the feet, the foots. So I did a few sketches just to kind of go over, give myself reminders of what we'll be sketching today. And before we begin, welcome if you're new, welcome back if you're returning. I do daily sketches and I set a 5-minute timer if you just want to sketch for 5 minutes. So speaking of that, I'll start a 5-minute timer right now. And I've been doing longer videos and sketching sessions, and that's what I'm getting from it. Is I'm getting more endurance to sketch. So yeah, to begin with, the foot or the feet are good things to sketch, kind of like your hands, because you have built-in reference. So here I just sketched that from life, and I can't see my feet right now, but if your sketchbook is on your lap, the feet makes for a good thing to sketch if you've got nothing else to sketch or if you're trying to learn. So I did that and just kind of figure out some proportions. And then I looked up some reference for like the bones. So just to go over that real quick. So the basic proportions is, let's say you have the height or the length, I suppose. And then you draw the usual center line, very important center line. Then if you find the middle right here, and then make note of so then you divided it into like a top half, bottom half here. And then just if you divide those, you'll get thirds, get smaller divisions. So it's kind of good to, again, instead of memorizing all the anatomy, it's, in my opinion, to draw, it's more important to understand the proportion and then understand the shapes, because you don't need to know all the anatomy. For example, this foot, you don't see all the little things, but they're in there. Anatomy is good as far as drawing, to understand why you get the shapes that you get. But ultimately, everything comes down to the proportion in one way or another. So with that said, this part and here, this is where you get apparently it's called the cuneiform when I was looking up the reference, but it is a cube, so maybe that's why. But yeah, it's basically a cube. And so there's some interesting proportions that I didn't really think about. I may have just kind of drawn it because just from memory. So you'll notice right here, that this last part is really where all the ankle and all that happens. And then it merges into that cube here. And then the cool thing is, since we did the hands, the feet are pretty similar. A lot of similarities. So for example, the the metatarsals, which is basically, yeah, it's present in the hand also. So I like to just keep the sort of the center right here, just kind of make that into the middle toe, the middle. Now this may or may not be exactly correct, but you can still draw it, like it'll still work. So yeah, right here, get kind of this, and then the toes look different on people, but this will help out. Same with the big toe, kind of comes out like this. So that's the metatarsal area. So that's already 5 minutes. I'll start another one. And then from there you'll get the rest of the toe, but then you'll get another kind of, well, with the feet it's interesting, like, well, the big toe is kind of like the thumb, I suppose. So I'm just going to kind of copy that. But that's what's going on. I just wanted to show how the proportions break down. And so yeah. So basically what happened was the halfway is actually where basically where it's raised up. I'll go over that. Now you could have just looked this up, of course, but I think one, it helps to kind of see someone sketching it and kind of talking about it can help. So notice the way that I did this. In some ways you could say that this is incorrect, but not always. The proportions are correct. So this is where the heel would be. But I made it kind of squarish. But then again, some feet are like that. And that's the thing. The proportions are probably going to be pretty similar, but then the shape could be different. And this happened because I'm talking while I'm drawing, so I didn't really think about it. But that's kind of what I mean. There's not one way to do it. I mean, some feet are kind of like this. So with that said, so with some of these other ones, I basically kept the same proportion. And so one thing is, I'll kind of do them in different angles because you can kind of see what I did here, and also there's a ton of tutorials and other stuff that honestly explain better, but maybe what I bring is just kind of how I approach it. Like I call them tips, basically. So if it's kind of in perspective here, like that would be, so the middle part here would be where, so I find that it's probably easier to place the ground if you're putting it into perspective, or if it's not from like a top-down view. Then this part is where it starts to come up. And then one thing that I learned was, depending on which foot it is, it's not straight. That's kind of why this looks funny. There's actually for balance, the big toe. So the part that's touching the ground is actually not the metatarsal, but it's actually the first joint right here. And then the metatarsals are here. And then there's this arch for the feet. The toes aren't exactly, you can see it right here. They're not exactly flat. Although I guess they could be. That's why some people's feet hurt more often. So it's kind of like that. And then the heel. So this would be this person's right foot. And so that inside, so notice it's in that third lower half of this. It's like that inner ankle, which doesn't protrude as much, I don't think, or does it? Oh, maybe it does. So the inner ankle is actually like that. So that's 5 minutes. I'll start another one. So, okay. So that's the angle, which sometimes I get confused with. Kind of like that. So this is the bigger looking ankle part. So it's kind of like this. And then hopefully that makes sense. So that's how to use the proportions to draw it from different angles. And then what else was, oh yeah, I wanted to go over like the hand and the feet. So when I measured my own hand against my own foot, you can see here that I'll draw it real quick. So we went over the hands in yesterday's video, and basically the proportion was the hand is kind of square-ish. I'll go over at the end of the video, I did some more sketches and I'll go over that for the hand from yesterday's video. So if we find the length, then we said that that's basically the length. Kind of like that. And then just from my own hand and foot, if you do the exact same measurement, it looks like it's the length of the hand, but then you add which would be like a third, because I was talking about that, like for simplicity, it's good to kind of think of half and then like a third if you had to like make a smaller. But of course, notice you make adjustments as you sketch to make it look right. That's the main thing. But so it's basically like a third, sort of add on to it. Kind of like that. At least in my hand and foot measurement, it kind of came out to be like that. And that is useful because when you're drawing the figure, sometimes you have to account for, kind of have to think about it. But I mean, it fluctuates depending on the perspective and everything. But I think it's kind of a handy thing to think about, so to speak. No pun intended. it could be good to just play around with I'll do some sketches of like the feet, because I feel like this is pretty basic, and like this foot is weird, but then I kind of remind myself that some feet can be like this. And that's maybe why some feet look more square. I mean, my feet are kind of square looking. So yeah, like maybe in this angle, if you set up the ground, if this were like on the outside of the foot, it's something like, so I think in perspective it's good to get the arch, and then the foot is curved, it's not exactly flat. And then that's 5 minutes. We'll start another one. And then these are basically what your big knuckles on your, which are the knuckles, I suppose, on the hand would be like this. And then you have the phalanges. I forgot to call them that. That's a fun word. So these are the phalanges. And they have the same amount of joints, it's just that on the feet they're not as mobile. And really the feet are the unsung heroes of the body when you realize that how much they have to do and how much weight they have to carry. So this is the basic look of that, of the bones. And then on the outside, the ankle. So the inner, it has to, for balance and like weight bearing and everything. So this outer one comes down a little bit more like that. And then this is the big part. So this is the outer bone area. So yeah, something like that. But it could be good to, so from the side, just kind of do like once you get the proportion, I mean, then you start to remember, like you can just draw it. But it could be good to do this and then kind of figure out where shoes would go, because most of the time you're drawing shoes on characters. Kind of like that. So play around with that. And then there's actually a lot more, and I'll show you on the previous page, like with the hands, that I could go over. I mean, I'm kind of showing that here, like I can go over different things like this, like drawing shoes. But I like to keep the videos kind of focused so that, one, I kind of make these for people to be able to look at, not just daily, like I do them daily, but I realize that not everybody's gonna watch these day to day chronologically. So I like to keep the topics kind of focused. So yeah. So to close out the video, let me fill up this space right here. Just from, so one angle that kind of comes up is the different ways of drawing it from like the front view. So it could be pretty flat without any, if it's just the bones. this part that you see right here. So that's that cube form, and then you have the metatarsals. So it could be pretty flat looking. I guess from the bottom I didn't really do that. I didn't even like really look it up, but what I'm thinking is it's probably just keep the same proportion, so that if that's the length, then the question might be, well, how do you know like how wide? I'm just kind of like, I would make it kind of like a cube. So for example, if you're saying that this is that cube form, which actually I think is called the cuneiform, if you make it squarish, you'll get kind of the width. So make it square. And then I would just kind of reverse engineer. So if that's where the metatarsal thing, and then yeah, just put like the big toe. A lot of times with the feet, so that's 5 minutes, and for just to close out the video, I won't set a 5-minute timer, but I'll talk about the hand sketches. I would just reverse engineer. But yeah, for the toes, even for the hands, and I'll show that in a second here, they curl down, so they do look a little different in that it won't be as stretched out looking or something. But this would be good to kind of research or just kind of look up real quick, but it's similar but not. Same basic principles though. So yeah, let me kind of go over that, because the hands and the feet they have a lot of similarities, but they just have different functions. So yeah, I just kind of had fun playing around with this sketchbook page, and in keeping with the spooky Halloween theme. So here's the skeleton, the whole body. So with this one, today's video, that's basically all the skeleton, although I can go in a lot more detail, and I didn't cover all of the skeleton, but I think you get the idea. And I think there's some good information in the videos. But obviously the fun and the real learning comes from just doing your own studies. So yeah, this was from yesterday's video, and everything on here is from imagination, and the only thing that isn't, and by imagination I mean like I did use my own hand as reference, but I didn't look at photos to draw these. I just used understanding of the anatomy to draw it and the proportion. And so the only one that I looked at reference was this one. And you can see, because I ended the video yesterday kind of talking about how I wanted to figure out like complex poses like this where the hands are intertwined, and it is complex, first of all, but I think if I were to do it in pencil it'd be a little bit easier. But I wanted to sort of talk about like what I learned. So this is when I first this is from imagination, and when you first sketch something, I mean, it's probably not going to be that correct, but if you kind of take it slowly and think about it, it'll be sort of correct. So it's not terrible, but I wouldn't call this a good drawing. And so I looked up the reference, and again, not the best drawing, but I did learn some things. I mean, it's an improvement, and it would work like in a drawing. I wouldn't look at it and think, what is that? Like, I would know what's going on. But basically it's just the pattern, and then sort of taking it slowly as far as like where the joints are. And also the other thing is, if I were to sketch this in pencil, a lot of it has to do with like the light and the shadow sort of alternating, and what to leave in and what to leave out. And so there's just like different landmarks, and if you look at a reference of this kind of picture, it looks weird anyway. So yeah, it's about simplifying it. And then from here, so this is sort of the underside. So another thing that could be good is kind of do like a outline of what the hand would look like over the bones. And so this is the palm side of the hand, and from what I learned about this, I just kind of did it, the overlap, the fingers, and just kind of using my own hand as reference. But the big thing with the underside is that it's more fleshy. That's one thing to keep in mind, and the fingers will curl down, so you kind of have to think about the fingertip area a little bit more, and like the creases look different. So they're similar but different, but the main thing is just fleshier. So as long as you kind of get that look going and that they curl inwards. And then for these other sketches, it's just so like this is kind of what I mean. Like once you kind of do a study, then you can sort of just get like the gesture in, and I would still call this a sketch and not like a finished drawing or anything. Which is kind of a whole nother topic. How do you do like a finished drawing? It's I have a lot of thoughts about that, but and then these other ones is just again just using the skeletal structure to come up with poses, and so that's one of the benefits of it. But so that's the feet, and that's what I'll usually do is I'll just kind of take what I learned and just see what I can come up with. But yeah, hopefully that was helpful to you today. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it, and until next time, keep on sketching.